They ran my wife out of town on a lie. So I ran the truth through their entire family. And now they're the ones living in disgrace, while we're thriving. I come from a town so small, people gossip for sport and they thought they ruined us. But I had receipts. And Sunday morning church service was where everyone went to dissect the game right after dissecting each other as family drama. Imagoth hybrid with a cheap guitar and even cheaper. It wasn't that I hated people, I just didn't feel like pretending. I was that kid who'd sit in the back of the class, writing lyrics no one would hear and doodling band logos in the margins of my notebook. I worked part-time flipping greasy patties at the one independent burger joint in town, trying not to catch heat from the boss who told me once to cut my hair or at least stop looking like a dang girl, young, radiant, and with this soft French accent that made even the word detention sound romantic. And the women, half of them wanted to be her, the other half wanted her gone. She wasn't flashy, and she didn't flirt. She wore practical clothes, smiled politely, and never once played into the attention she got. It only made her more magnetic. She was hired to teach English to the juniors and seniors, which meant I had her for 12th grade. She was 24, practically a kid herself in the eyes of the staff. But to us students, she might as well have been from another planet. Real charmer, that guy. You couldn't sneeze without someone blessing you 3 blocks away. My graduating class, 60 students. I was on shift, apron crusted with fry grease, my hair a mess, probably smelling like onions. She looked me dead in the eyes and said, "You have a nice smile. You should use it more. You're learning," with this playful glint in her eyes. From then on, every hallway pass was a mini heart attack. But that was its smiles and hellos. I never dared dream it could be anything more. She was the kind of woman you admired from a distance, like a painting in a museum you knew better than to touch. Not because we were stupid, but because there just weren't that many of us. A fleeting moment of color in an otherwise black and white world. And even though the world around us stayed quiet, my thoughts started getting loud. And in a place where rumors are gospel, all I needed to do was make sure the right people heard the right story and watched the right videos. I come from a town so small, we used to joke that if you sneezed too loud, everyone on Main Street would know who did it and what they ate for breakfast. Picture a place with 1 McDonald's, 1 3-screen movie theater, a single department store that's also the post office on Saturdays, and where the only thing that ever changed was the price of gas, or which tractor got a fresh paint job. It was the kind of town where Friday night football was a religious experience. She'd make you a pie and cut your bangs in the same hour. My dad, retired Navier, turned his internet cafe into a tax service once Wi-Fi killed his original hustle. Most people knew me as the kid who didn't talk much unless it was about music, or unless I was getting yelled at for dropping fries too fast. And me, I didn't exactly fit the mold. I wore black band tees, skinny jeans, and a scowl. Everyone had a role in our town. My mom was the church baker and local hairdresser. That was life, slow, predictable, and permanently bit. Then came Miss Amber Fontaine. She arrived like a comet no one was ready for. She carried herself differently, poised, graceful, yet completely unaware of how she made every guy in class lose his ability to form coherent sentences. I remember the first time she stopped by the burger place, I almost dropped her salad. Back in school that Monday, she passed me in the hallway, smiled, and said, "Still." In a place where nothing ever changed, Amber Fontaine became the exception. Graduation came and went without much fun. A couple of streamers in the gym, a lukewarm speech from the principal, and the same old faces snapping photos in caps and gowns. One long summer of the same skate park, same minimum wage, and the same basement band dreams. I spent more money on weed and ecstasy than I'd ever admit to my parents, and my savings for community college was more a myth than a plan. But this time, it was different. I wasn't her student anymore. I had graduated, I was legally an adult, and when she saw me, she smiled like she meant it. I didn't stick around for the after. I had burgers to flip and songs to write with a band that barely made noise outside the roller rink. Life didn't suddenly change after high school. If anything, it just stretched out. And then just like that, Amber walked into the burger joint again. She still carried that same calm elegance, even while ordering a salad at a place known for burgers the size of your head. "Oh hey OP," she said. "Are you going to college?" I started holding her hand. They knew. My parents definitely knew. Cut way back on the weed, nodding along politely, even though I know now our music probably made her ears bleed. She never said anything bad, just encouraged me to keep being creative. But she always nudged me softly toward a future bigger than loud amps and bad acoustics. I started actually saving money not for the band. She believed in me before I believed in myself. With her, I saw I was saving for college. She was still teaching, and we were building something real even if it was quiet and low-key. We weren't trying to get noticed. A future. We didn't even start holding hands until weeks after that. But facts don't matter when people want a scandal. And in a town where entertainment options included church, football, and counting tractors, we were primetime drama. Then came the louder stuff: snide remarks at church, anonymous messages, nasty little gossip bombs dropped like casual conversation at the burger joint. That didn't all polite voices and furrowed brows. "We're just trying to understand the timeline," they said. "There's no shame in being honest, son." She texted me from the parking lot, shaky, scared, but determined. "They're saying I was involved with you while you were still in school. TND, I have always been professional," she said. "I've done nothing wrong, but I will resign if it protects my students from this circus." Said they'd keep it clean if she'd cooperated. Said they'd forget about this if she just left and didn't make a scene. It did end. I was 80. She didn't groom me. She didn't touch me. I pursued her, not the other way around. And when things did turn romantic, it was months later. Said my hair wasn't helping either. Whatever, man. Job or parents who once praised her started whispering in the church parking lot. Not for breaking the law, but for breaking the unspoken rule of the town. Don't step outside the box they've made for you. Teachers who used to smile now crossed the street to avoid her. People we never even talked to claimed they knew something was off about her from the start. Fated, my folks offered to let us crash with them for a while, and we started talking seriously about leaving, about getting out before the town broke us. But we're not here to debate technicalities. It's about perception. Banned. Sticker, but Amber, always the calmest voice in the room, told them to stay focused, be kind to their next teacher, and not let anger define them. She was the only reason some kids cared about school. But none of that mattered. Once the rumor train got moving, the back of a beat-up car, I saw college. I saw purpose. Months after our first movie date, we made love. It wasn't rushed, it wasn't dramatic. Dusty town with its one McDonald's and gossip-hungry sidewalks. I don't remember just the boredom or the judgmental stares. I remember Amber's laugh, her strength, and how she helped turn a drifting kid into someone who actually had direction. It was honest. Amber said she'd been thinking about me ever since I graduated, that she'd waited, and it had been worth it. That night, I didn't feel like some high school burnout. I felt like a man but for school. Amber would remind me how smart I was, how I could really make something of myself. That kind of belief was addictive in the best way. I found myself wanting to be worthy of her, not just someone she happened to care about. Maybe back east. And she asked me to come with her. But since it was all above board, no inappropriate timelines, no sketchy details, they didn't raise hell. In fact, they liked her. My mom said Amber was the first girl she ever saw make me comb my hair. Then came the kisses, always private, always respectful. And slowly, the crush I once nursed in silence became something real, something steady. I told her about the band and saving money, playing it cooler than I felt. We chatted a while. She told me how this was her second year teaching, and she was getting a better feel for things. Then she said something that stuck with me. "I wish my current students worked as hard as you did." She asked if I wanted to go to a movie, casual, friendly, innocent. We didn't rush anything. We'd meet for dinner at the only nice restaurant in town, take slow walks where nobody noticed us, and talk about music, books, and how ridiculous life felt. She never made me feel like a kid, and I never made her feel like she was babysitting me. That hit me sideways. I never saw myself as a hard worker. I got average grades, barely showed up with enthusiasm, but I always got A's in English her class. I liked reading, and I liked how she made the subject feel important, even in a town where nothing seemed to matter. A few days later, she came back to the burger joint. We talked longer this time, and that's how it started. Just two people, bored in a boring town, finding comfort in each other's company. Eventually, my friends didn't say much, and she really did start to change me. I stopped doing ecstasy cold turkey. She came to a couple of our shows one night, and I fell hard. Amber moved through life with grace. She talked about moving someday, maybe the West Coast. So when I look back at that slow, we weren't just a fling. We were each other's turning point. For a while, it felt like we were winning, me and Amber against the world. But small towns don't need a reason to notice, just a whisper. The rumor started slow. A knowing glance from someone at the grocery store. A shift in tone when people said her name. The narrative was simple. She was his teacher. He was underage. They were sleeping together. None of it was true. I had graduated. I was 80. Then the school board got involved. Amber got called into a private meeting. No press. No formal charges. Just concerned inquiries. My heart dropped. I was at that meeting in 10 minutes flat. They sat across from us like they were on some courtroom drama show. I told them the truth. Amber was my teacher in senior year. Yes, But we didn't reconnect until after I graduated. But they weren't listening. They didn't want facts. They wanted blood. We appreciate your honesty, one of them said, in the kind of tone people use right before they stab you in the back. Perception. Amber kept her composure, but I saw her hands trembling in her lap. They offered her an ultimatum: resign quietly or be fired with cause. They dangled her teaching license in front of her like a threat. Amber walked out of that meeting with her head high, but I could see the weight in her shoulders. We didn't say anything on the drive home. What was there to say? She was out of a job. Just like that, overnight she became the town pariah. And me, I lost my job too. My burger joint boss pulled me aside one day and mumbled something about bad optics and declining sales. That was her clatsy even when the town spit in her face. We packed up her apartment in silence. She got help from her parents overseas. Amber had dreams bigger than this town. I was ready to follow her anywhere. It was our first heartbreak, not because our relationship ended at Antibes, but because we realized just how cruel people can be when they need someone to blame. They stole her career, her dignity, and her future. Or so they thought. But they forgot one thing. We kept the receipts. Leaving our hometown wasn't just a change of scenery, it was survival. Amber had been pushed out of the classroom. I had been pushed out of a job. And neither of us could walk down Main Street without feeling the weight of judgmental stares and whispered lies. The town made it clear. We weren't welcome. But our families, God bless them, they didn't blink. Amber's parents, still in France, wired her money without hesitation. Mine offered us a room, meals, and more love than we could have hoped for. My dad, a man of few words, looked at me and said, "You protect that girl. She's a good one." But it was freedom, and it was ours. She wanted palm trees, ocean air, and a place big enough where no one knew our names, a place where gossip didn't echo for years. She lit up every time she taught Yvonne, if it was through a webcam. My mom cried when Amber hugged her goodbye. We were lying on our futon, the hum of traffic outside, eyes watering. "It's yours, ours, and I want this." When she turned to me and said, terrified tears, mine sent more money, hers offered to fly us to France for support. But we stayed. We wanted to do this on our terms, but mostly grateful ones. That moment made every bad day worth it. I found a part-time job fixing computers for a local IT shop. It felt like all the pain we went through back home was a bad dream until one random Tuesday afternoon. I got a text from my mom. Turned out all those years of gaming. "You're not gonna believe what I heard." We cried. At this meeting meant to discuss hiring new teachers because of recent population growth. My mom ran into an old acquaintance, the bassist who sold me weed, partied with me, and cheered when I kissed Amber for the first time. The same Jerry who turned cold the moment I started spending more time with her and less with him. The same Jerry whose friendship fell apart the second my life started to move forward. They didn't recognize each other at first. Just a couple of moms, making small talk. She didn't need that stress knot while she was pregnant. But inside, I was fuming. Again, modding. But with a separate bedroom. She had gone straight to the board. She circulated a petition claiming that staff didn't trust Amber. Only a few signed it. But that was enough to get it placed in her permanent file. It painted a picture the district was eager to believe once Jerry gave them a reason. Which feels like a mansion compared to the studio. She used her influence, her concern, and a holier-than-thou image to plant seeds of suspicion. And Jerry handed her the fertilizer. He knew we didn't date until after I graduated. He knew Amber was the only one who encouraged me to leave drugs behind and actually do something with my life. But that didn't matter to him and his mom. One of Amber's former co-workers, a teacher at the same school, the self-appointed moral compass of the town, now a school board member, and tinkering weren't a waste after all. The owner liked me, but it was ours. How she'd always given her the cold shoulder. How she never invited her to staff events. How she lobbied against her contract being renewed long before any rumors surfaced. Amber thought it was just jealousy or personality conflict. We moved across the country, rebuilt from scratch, and worked ourselves to the bone just to reclaim a sense of dignity. No more secrets, no more shame. Just a couple of underdogs. Building something beautiful in a city that didn't care who we used to be. Trained me up and offered me a full-time gig within months. OPII, I work downtown with clean clothes and get paid double what I made waiting tables. The company even has a program to help employees finish college. They cover half the tuition, and the other half gets docked in small monthly payments. I jumped on it. Oh, I'm pregnant. Got cheap tacos from trucks that put our hometown's cooking to shame. And for the first time, we started planning, not surviving. You're serious? And, just like that, with a few boxes, a couple of duffel bags, and 2 Greyhound tickets, we were off to Los Angeles. Amber chose it. Said she'd always dreamed of the West Coast. She named him after a French cardinal. I call him Richie. She still teaches online, and her students adore her. She found a way to do what she loves, even if the system shut her out. No car, we couldn't afford one, but we bought bikes and learned the bus system like pros. Just family and a few new friends. Amber's hometown welcomed us like royalty. Her parents were warm, her siblings loud and funny, and the food. I gained 5 pounds in a week. Amber wore white and looked like magic. I wore a suit that didn't quite fit but felt like armor. Our wedding photos are still my favorite thing to look at. I got a job waiting tables at this fancy French restaurant where the gimmick was that some of the servers spoke French. Thanks to Amber, I had just enough phrases to pass as charmingly authentic. LA was a culture shock. People didn't say hello on the street. There were more restaurants on one block than our town had in total. We rented a tiny studio apartment in a loud, colorful neighborhood. She, meanwhile, found an online gig teaching French and English conversation courses to business professionals. It didn't pay much, but it was something. Money was tight. Rent took a huge chunk. Some days we lived off ramen and coffee, but we were free, and we were in love. Amber started smiling more. I started walking straighter. We went to the beach when we could. I'm pregnant again. One night I blinked. She nodded. We held each other and cried happy tears. We told our parents. We got married in a small park in LA. The honeymoon was in France, back in LA. Now Amber stayed home with our newborn son. We upgraded to a bigger apartment, still modest, and just when we felt like things couldn't get better, Amber dropped another bombshell one morning over coffee. More good news. We laughed. Life wasn't perfect. We were finally free and finally home. Things had finally settled into something that resembled peace. We were working, raising our son, and prepping for baby number 2. Was just at the school board meeting. She wrote. She wasn't kidding. Turns out, our sleepy little town wasn't done whispering our names. Then she heard the name Jerry. Jerry, my old bandmate, my best friend once upon a time. My mom listened as Jerry's mom bragged that her son had been the one who alerted the school about my relationship with Amber. That hit like a punch to the chest. The informant, the one who started the avalanche that ruined Amber's teaching career, was Jerry, my old friend. I didn't tell Amber, not yet. This wasn't just gossip gone wrong. This was sabotage, deliberate. Vicious. Amber had told me stories about Jerry's mom, but this was calculated. This woman had been actively trying to push Amber out from the moment she arrived. And Jerry, he knew all the truths. What mattered was that I got the girl, and maybe deep down, he always wanted her to. Jerry's mom didn't just dislike Amber. She weaponized the system against her. Amber was doomed the moment they turned their eyes on her. She never stood a chance. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. This wasn't just about small-town cruelty. This was personal, targeted, and unjust. We'd spent years trying to recover from the damage they caused. And all this time, the people who torched our lives, they were still there. Still teaching, still smiling, still acting like they did the right thing. But here's the thing about small towns. Everybody knows everybody, or at least their business. And I had plenty of business to share. The thing about betrayal is, it festers. I couldn't let it go. I tried. For Amber's sake, tried to focus on our growing family, our beautiful life in LA, but knowing that Jerry, my former best friend, and his mother had deliberately destroyed Amber's reputation, cost her a career, and painted her as a predator. That wasn't something I could ignore. I didn't want revenge. I needed justice. And I remembered something that had been collecting dust in my closet for years. My old phones. Jerry was always the loudest voice in the room, always trying to be cool, always trying to prove something, and he never shot up even when he absolutely should have. Back in high school, we recorded everything. Band practice, house parties, skating, getting high, acting like idiots. My mom caught me blazing last night and didn't even ground me. She and my dad were higher than I was. I pulled out the box with my phones, 3 of them, spanning my junior and senior years. She called him sick that day. Whole school probably thought she had the flu. But I knew what I had to do. Untouched. I'm the kind of guy who never deletes anything. I keep old phones like people keep photo albums. It didn't take long. They include evidence of drug use, distribution, and knowledge of criminal activity by his parents. Given recent rumors and the reputational damage suffered by others in your district, I thought it was only fair that you see what's been swept under the rug. On my second phone, I found the first video. Jerry laughing his head off, holding a bag of weed, and shouting, "Yo." He looked straight into the camera, proud as hell. She knows. Ideal, too. Said she'd rather I do it safe than have me out there with the real thugs. The PTA, the roller rink guy, the burger joint owner. the local newspaper, even the mayor. Can you believe that? My mom's a freaking teacher, dude. Spent an afternoon compiling clips, trimming footage, attaching files. I wrote a short, polite message, no threats, no rants, just the facts. Jerry had been their supplier for years, and the fact that his mother, Mrs. Morality herself, knew about it, that pushed everything over the edge. This time, not as a judge but as the accused, she was dismissed, blacklisted. The school district issued a statement condemning her actions and promising a full review of hiring standards. On another video, he brags about getting caught with coconut to come home and find his mom coked out of the kitchen table. There it was. That nugget came out right as their family was imploding publicly. Talk about poetic timing. Proof. Maybe not enough for court, but in a small town, it was more than enough to burn everything down. I didn't tell Amber she didn't need the stress, she deserved peace, not revenge fantasies. I created a throwaway email account, to whom it may concern. These videos are of Jerry Loss's name, a known drug dealer and son of school board member and former teacher Mrs. Loss's name. Signed, a concerned former student. I sent the email to everyone, the school board, the principal, the superintendent, every teacher I still had an address for, the church leaders, Amber Richelieu and me, with a new life growing in her belly. The air felt lighter, the sun felt warmer. Small town inboxes lit up. Within 24 hours it was wildfire. That week, my mom called me 4 times. Jerry got fired, she said. They raided his house. You wouldn't believe the stuff they found. Pills, weeds, kush, everything more came out. Students who'd been caught with drugs at school started naming names. She got called before the board. The cherry on top. Turns out Jerry's dad had been cheating on her for years with someone from the church choir. The entire family. Poisoned fruit. They wanted to leave town but couldn't. Pending investigations, pending court dates, pending community rage, they became pariahs the same way Amber had been. Except now, they deserved it. And in our small town where gossip has more power than God, the videos were gospel. My inbox blew up with people asking, was this really you? How'd you get this? Why now? I didn't answer. Didn't need to. The message was loud enough. I finally told Amber a few days later, while she was feeding Rish. She looked at me, tears in her eyes, and whispered, thank you, not just for me, for all of it. We went for a walk that evening, and for the first time since we left that town I felt whole. I didn't seek vengeance out of hate. I did it for justice, for the truth, for the woman who loved me when I had nothing, who rebuilt me from broken pieces, and for every quiet, kind soul who's ever been torn down by loud, petty liars. Sometimes the best revenge is just pressing send. The fallout came quicker than I expected. It wasn't a slow burn, it was an explosion. But anyone with half a brain cell knew who they meant. When the school board and local authorities received those videos, it wasn't just gossip anymore. Pills, bags of weed, cash, and text message. There's so many texts from local teens placing orders, asking for pickups, revoked, arranging drop-offs behind the gas station. It was evidence. Jerry was arrested, awaiting trial. And here's the poetic part. No one defended them. No one started petitions. No one called it unfair or a misunderstanding. His dad left the state. His mom shunned. Couldn't even walk into the grocery store without someone turning away in disgust. Not because they suffered, but because they couldn't rewrite the story anymore. The truth was out raw, undeniable, and it stained everything they touched. The cherry on I was moving up at work, getting closer to finishing my degree. Our apartment was filled with laughter, baby toys, and the smell of coffee in Kwazan Samba's morning routine. Top didn't call people to say I told you so, but we didn't have to. Jerry's let their own sins rise to the surface like oil and water. Dad was revealed to have been cheating on his wife for years with a woman from the church choir, one of the loudest supporters of the moral campaign that got Amber fired. You can't write irony this rich. The police raided Jerry's family home less than a week after the email blast went out. They didn't need much, just enough to say, we have probable cause. When the small town, remember, first came the headlines in the local paper, local business manager fired amid drug allegations. The article never named Jerry directly. Turns out, what they found, not just because of the videos showing her complicity, but because the drugs were stored under her roof. The cops weren't buying her I had no idea routine, especially after it hit the news leaked by someone in the church, no less the town's judgment turned inward. Suddenly all the people who once spread lies about Amber were choking on their own hypocrisy. Came out that multiple students remembered her warning them to stay away from certain kids while her own son was the one doing the damage. a smorgasbord of illegal substances. The town's golden boy busted cold, and he wasn't alone. His mom, the same woman who once called Amber a threat to the moral fabric of our students, got dragged straight into the mess. She was dismissed from the school board within 24 hours. No ceremony, no defense, just gone. Her teaching credentials, the district that once protected her reputation with iron walls, now couldn't distance themselves fast enough. Then affair. The family crumbled under the weight of their own deceit. It was small-town justice, but this time pointed in the right direction. The same rumor mill that once destroyed Amber's reputation now tore through Jerry's family like wildfire. They just watched. The same way they watched Amber suffer. The same way they looked away when we were forced out. Now, they looked on with righteous glee, not realizing they were the same vultures both times. I won't lie, there was satisfaction in it. And us, we kept living. Amber stayed busy teaching online, her belly growing round, again with our second child. We didn't celebrate their downfall publicly. We didn't post about it. The town knew. Everyone knew. And somewhere, deep down, even Jerry probably knew he got exactly what he deserved. What started as a lie to tear us apart ended with the truth blowing up everything they built. And the most beautiful part, we didn't even lift a finger to frame them. We just showed the receipts. Let their own words do the damage. There's something powerful about that kind of symmetry. Because sometimes, the rumor mill doesn't just destroy the innocent. Sometimes, it eats its own. Today, life looks nothing like it did back in that small town fit. Amber's belly is round again with our second child, our daughter this time. Richelieu toddles through our apartment like he owns it, leaving toys and sticky fingerprints in his wake, and every morning starts with the sound of Amber laughing at something. French on the radio while flipping pancakes with one hand and answering student emails with the other. The company's helping me finish my degree, and I'm just semesters away from my bachelor's in information technology. She's beloved by her students. Her ratings are off the charts. Nothing fancy, but full of love and laughter. Full of life we've created together, not just our kids, but a whole existence that's rooted in trust, growth, and the refusal to let bitterness win. Turns out, when people actually give her a fair chance, she shines just like I always knew she would. That place where lies were louder than facts, and gossip carried more weight than truth. They tried to bury us with rumors, but all they did was plant a seed. And from that, we grew into something strong, something real. My days are filled with coding and problem solving, but it's the kind of stress that builds something, not the kind that breaks you. We're not rich. We don't live in a mansion, but we're stable. I work full-time in IT now, with benefits, steady pay, and a boss who actually respects me. Amber still teaches online classes in French and English for professionals across the globe. Our apartment is bigger now. And for more epic revenge stories like this, don't forget to subscribe and smash that bell. And together, we built a life no one else thought we deserved. We didn't just survive what they did to us. We rose. When I look back, it's almost hard to believe we came from that small town. Amber changed my life. Not because she rescued me, but because she believed in me before I believed in myself. Now, we're thriving. Not in spite of them, but because we never let them define who we were. In a town where gossip is gospel, I dropped the ultimate sermon and the congregation listened. Amber and I were never guilty of what they said, but Jerry and his family, that's another story. You reap what you sow. And sometimes, someone like me will make sure you get it in full. We're thriving now, and the only thing I regret is not pressing send sooner. If you believe in karma and that real love always finds a way, hit that like button.